AEW Beach Break. Do 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 do. Ciampa used a drill to try and get into Jericho's head. Oh no no my brain. Takeshita and Fletcher they fought for the international title, and then Foley came out with dogs on his shoes and ran the Catalyst. Beach Break, Beach Break, and then we had Ospreay and Moxley against the Workhorsemen. JD Drake can do a moonsault. Hey, maybe he'll get a push like Mason Rook. Is that how it works? Beach Break! Beach Break! And a bunch of women in a match. Julia and Sky, they took a cane and some weaponry to security. The match is still going, but no matter. Willow returns and she won. A beach break! Beach break! And then what would happen in the main event? We have Kenny Omega and MJF. It was someone with a bad knee and someone with guts that are splattering. Beach break! Beach break! But a one-wing angel after Ospreay took away the ring. Oh me, oh my. Now it's Omega and Ospreay at All In, and we see it at Beach Break. Beach Break. Beach Break. I'm John Renton with my review of AEW Dynamite Beach Break 2026. Yeah, a tradition. Unlike many, because I sing things really bad, but you know what? It's a bit. It's a work. It's fun. I did like the fact that the venue was right on the beach. It looked cool. It wasn't as egregious as the stuff that WCW did, because at least people actually paid to get here. And you know what? Honestly, there were some good parts to the show. There was a little less BS. And apparently they did not tape Collision. They are having Collision live this Saturday in Roanoke, Virginia. Not likely going to be watching that. I have a full notepad left, folks. And after that, I'm probably going to always have a notepad with me. Like I'll buy like another one here and there. But after that notepad is done, I think it's like 100 pages. Then I'm really going to determine how much I want to keep reviewing. So let's just get right on into it. And yeah, we have Kenny Omega back there with Renee. And Michael Nakazawa is there too. And I keep forgetting he's there. Now look, I don't think he's a terrible person. They want to keep him backstage, fine. I don't want to see him on camera. An embarrassing, stupid gimmick that never belonged in wrestling. So Kenny basically says, well, he's going to go all out, and MJF, does he have the guts to kill him in the ring? bit harsh, but whatever. It has got to be sweltering with that setup is what I noticed, because, yeah, it's Florida. It's Clearwater, Florida, by the way. Clearwater. I mean, what I've heard about Clearwater, I don't necessarily know if it's the best place, but that being said, if any of you from Clearwater are watching this, all 5 of you that understand how the internet works, then please let me know if it's like as bad as people say. So here's Ciampa, and then he tries to hide and attack Chris Jericho. There are cameras all around me, like he's Paramore, and then Jericho does a sneak attack. And by a sneak attack, I mean that he says, oh, I'm going to tiptoe over here and get up on the stage, because it's the stage right to the ring. And then they battle, and God, Jericho looks like shit. It's Ciampa and Jericho, and the music kept playing, Judas kept playing. A suplex onto one of those plastic beach chairs, which cut Ciampa, and then sand got in that cut. So, man, oh man, that must have hurt. Not as much as working with Jericho. Look, Jericho, he did not need to come back. Khan should have paid him the length of his contract. There was no reason to bring him back. There was no reason for WWE to bring him in either. Like, it's just, he cannot go anymore. We get a double underhook onto the steps. Jericho bled. Ciampa then kissed a bald guy's head, because bald is beautiful. Except if it's me. I make it look average at best. So, an air raid crash for 2. Rana off the top, barely. And, yeah, we get sand in the bucket and everything. Then it gets all over the ring. We get 2 knees. And then we get the Lion Tamer, the Walls of Jericho. But then pocket sand. And there you go. That's it for that. A knee. 1, 2, 3. So Ciampa wins. I don't have a problem with Ciampa winning. But then the problem is he attacks Jericho him with a chair. And then gets the power drill. For what reason? For what reason? Why do I get the idea this is going to continue? And that Ciampa is going to lose to Jericho at Redemption, because that's in Canada. And I do want to say right now, in regards to Redemption, it will be one of a few AEW pay-per-views that I'm not able to watch live. I actually have to cover a bunch of shifts from the 25th. Actually, it's just a few days, but instead of working my normal shifts, I have to work some closing shifts to give somebody else time off and everything. So I will be watching Redemption at some point. That review will likely be of sometime Monday morning afternoon. So anyway, security runs in, and Rick Knox, what the fuck is Rick Knox going to do? Except hopefully take that drill to the head. Not that you're going to find anything in there, because he hasn't had a working brain since King Tut existed. And then we cut to a bar where Jamie Hayter and Alex Windsor are attacking people. I think the editor was attacking people. He was attacking my ability to care about whatever the fuck they were going to film, in pre-tape form ever again, because they're fighting and they're doing this, and man, I don't know how many takes they did, but they went with the best one. Perhaps it was 20 takes. And I don't know how much thought they put into this, but more would have helped. That's about it. And Ospreay's outside. He's worried about Omega, but knows that Kenny is very good. MJF interrupts. Mox said, basically Ospreay is associated with John Moxley. He's not wrong. And then, I'll break your stack of diamond neck at Wembley. Ospreay calls him a beggar. Basically says, you try to have a seat at the table, but until you can do stuff without all these shenanigans and all these shortcuts, you will never be anything more than a beggar. And then MJF spits at him, and that's it. Then they get a bit of a brawl. Instant security. Takeshita took on Kyle Fletcher in an international championship match. Unfortunately, Don Callis is on commentary. Look, wrestling needs managers to come back. They don't need Don Callis. Rick Knox is a drizzling shits as a referee, and maybe as a human being, but at least as a referee. I instantly care less and less about anything he's involved in, because he fucking sucks at enforcing the goddamn rules. He's really bad at his job. Take is really good, but they've had a lot of booking issues. I mean, that whole thing where they just basically drug that Okada feud out to the point where, yeah, okay, they had their match at Double or Nothing, but Take is going to be off to the G1, so I probably should have known how they were going to go with this. Taz is annoying the fuck out of me because it's not even being a heel commentator. He's just yucking it up and then agreeing with the heel way too much. And yes, you need to have a little bit of a balance. You can have a face commentator and a heel commentator, but if they're not going to call the match and they're just going to make it like a sketch comedy show, then you don't need 3 goddamn announcers. But then again, since Shivani probably should be the interviewer and Excalibur's in over his head, I guess you need 3 announcers. And we get a hydration break, and then Takeshita stupidly hits the ring post, so his arm gets focused on. We go back and forth. The apron spot, 2 spots. It was a tombstone and then into the wheelbarrow suplex, which is impressive, but it's convoluted and the apron spots are stupid. Big moves aplenty, all 2 counts. Callis does a very bad distraction, because Don Callis is as bad of a manager as he was a wrestler. Raging Fire, but 2, foot on the ropes, and a brainbuster, 1-2 kick out. Stop having moves kicked out of this should be the finish. I don't care what company you are, stop fucking having that happen. We get a second brainbuster on the buckle, 1, 2, 3. Okay, fine, but just stop having moves kicked out of when they're supposed to be the finish. That's it. See you in 2 months, Take. Maybe they'll find a way to actually properly book you and not, just make you a... They made him just a flunky to the conglomeration, which is one of the worst stables that they've ever goddamn had. Here's Mick Foley. He has, shoes with his old dog that passed away and his current dog. He praises Kyle. Foley briefly goes at Don Callis because they have history. Well, they know each other. I don't know if they have history. And yeah, he feels happiness with every step that he takes because of his dogs being on his shoes. Here's Kevin Knight. This went long, is what I noted. Knight joined because he wants a title shot. And then here's Inspector El Idolo, who comes up, A.K. Andrade. He is dressed like an inspector from a 30s, Hispanic crime drama. I guess. I mean, I don't know. Maybe if he could do a British accent, then he could just be from any British drama. The How You Know chant. This went a bit... I mean, it didn't go way too long, but it's like already, this was long in the tooth. And Callis says, you won a title shot. Okay, you beat Jake Doyle. I don't think you can. You can have Mark Davis. Mark Davis is a national champion. Hands up if you all forgot about the national championship already. And then Andrade basically encourages them to follow him. So I believe it's Jake Doyle, it's Kevin Knight, and Brian Cage. So Jake Doyle might have a brain on him. Kevin Knight, I think, does. And Brian Cage, I'm sure, is a nice guy, but he has done so many goddamn what he's done that his brain's just got to be shrinking and shrinking and shrinking. So they Andrade led him to an ambush with Darby, but then he got beat up a bit. And then Brian Cage, and they shot this really tight to avoid the fact that they were using something else, because they obviously switched something, but Brian Cage went to swing the skateboard and somehow didn't notice either the skateboard was booby trapped or the backpack. What, I don't know. But then, so that happens, and Brian Cage has to sell that. This is so stupid. They are talking me out of caring about the future of this company more and more. And then they're yelling, it was you. Jake Doyle yells. And Andrade's got this comically oversized, switch thing. They could control. Here's my question. What are all those other buttons for? Is it controlling the cage of Capital Combat 90? Is RoboCop going to come back? Is Peter Weller still alive? These are important questions to ask. So, yeah, this was stupid. I mean, yes, Andrade did the how you know, while he's holding the damn thing, but it's a rib at this point. Moxley came from near the beach. Where is Jaws? Ospreay and John Moxley took on the Workhorsemen. That's J.D. Drake and Anthony Henry. I think that's his name. Okay, so brief sidebar here. Paul Walter Hauser decided to defend Mason Rook, I think Jackson Drake, from a recent NXT event. And I know this has nothing to do with AEW, except Paul Walter Hauser competing against QT Marshall in a death match that was the death of credibility, as far as I'm concerned, for that show. And he then basically invoked the name Nick Bockwinkel and opened his goddamn mouth and then pissed off Jim Cornette, who, to quote Sean Waltman, you don't want to get in a fight with Jim Cornette as far as a war of words, because he don't give a fuck. He will cut you down. I actually think strike that, reverse it with those two lines, but still, you get the point. Now, J.D. Drake did a moonsault, and J.D. Drake is, he's fine. He's fine for what he can do. He can do some impressive athletic shit, especially for his size. But, he does a moonsault, so let's just push him. Because Mason Rook can do a moonsault, and let's push him. Despite the fact he's not ready and will never be ready and can't talk. So, Paul Walter Hauser needs to just shut up and be, at best, a C-list actor. Oh, he won an Emmy. Okay, plenty of people have won an Emmy. Susan Lucci eventually won a goddamn Emmy, and that was for a soap opera. That doesn't exactly mean a whole lot. And he apparently deleted his Twitter/X account, and I think he'll come back soon. But God forbid, just don't talk about shit you know nothing about, you fucking idiot. So anyway, they cheered Marina. Can we annex Clearwater, Florida from the U.S.? And yeah, so Ospreay and Moxley won. I care less and less about Ospreay every time they do this stuff with the Death Riders. Here's a pre-tape with Sheeta, who, my word, she looks great, and is the TBS champion. The best is Sheeta, I guess, is what she said it was. Casino Gauntlet women's match. Winner faces Tekla at AEW Redemption. Tekla was on commentary and drunk, very drunk, toasted even, blasted, blitzed as it were, over a barrel. I don't actually know what the terminology is, but boy, she was drunk. This is not the first time she showed up drunk. And Mercedes is on the lifeguard chair. Good, stay there. Stay there where you can't harm anybody with your stupid promos. Athena and Maya World start off. I'm not going to get into specifics of this. I will say hopefully Maya World just is able to, have this momentum continue. They don't stall with this. Tekla just said, last time I went to a casino, I won $10K and had a stripper on my lap. Now, why can't we see footage of that? It would be far more interesting than half the stuff on this show. And I don't mean this specific show, I mean in general. Sky Blue comes in with a kendo stick at number 3. Then, during the break, Mina Shirakawa showed up, who looks great. Tekla basically said she'd motorboat her, even though she called her a blow-up doll. I don't actually know if she was just playing it up, but I think she was, either she was playing it up and she's really good at it, or she was blasted and Tony Khan's just like, whatever. Was it unprofessional? Given some of the bullshit on this show, I think it's actually not nearly as unprofessional as some of the workers. So Rena showed up at number 5. Fun fact, I was joking with a friend of mine and found out, I guess she's 19. And I said, oh, she's 19, but watch out. She's like an 8-year pro, isn't she? And he said, yeah, she started at 11. I go, I was joking. By the way, I was joking. Japan needs to be investigated for how early they allow people to wrestle. So, Julia Hart comes out with a trash can lid, an oversized trash can lid that's almost half the size of her, and attacks everybody. And then her and Sky Blue start attacking security. They do pester Justin Roberts, which, honestly, they should. That motherfucker should be pestered. Creep. But yeah, they beat up security. The match is still going, by the way. But everything just stops. Thunder Rosa is in the ring at number 7, I believe after a break. And number 8, this is the final entrant because it ends soon after, is Willow Nightingale. She is back after 10 weeks? Like, genuinely, I'm actually trying to remember how long it's been since she's been injured. She's back. Big Pop, she goes off and ends up pinning Julia. So it wasn't a bad match, I'll say that much. And then the Divine Dominion, Lena Cross, My Word, and Megan Bain attack the Sisters of Sin, Julia and Sky. And Tekla and Willow are going at it, and then Mercedes runs in the ring. Stumbles in the ring. Because if you can't actually run in any kind of footwear, you shouldn't be wearing it just to look stylish. So, I guess Mercedes has 2 Amazonian women with her, and that's great. They've never associated an Amazonian woman with Mercedes, except they did, and it didn't work, and this isn't going to work. But good on Lena Cross. Jack Perry is staying with AEW. Good. Stay over there, and, maybe you won't get choked out a little bit for being a little bitch. So, Jack Perry is never going to mean anything more than he does. That's it. And apparently him and AJ are still together. I wish him nothing but the best in all honesty, but whatever. So the last 31 minutes is dedicated to the main event. Justin Roberts gave Kenny Omega the silly entrance. MJF came down, had graphics, on his gear in tribute to Bam Bam Bigelow, as people point out. That was nice. And MJF had Justin do the intro, and he says he's not from Florida, the land of racism and incest. Well, especially North Florida. I mean, maybe don't be so bigoted and don't be so incestuous and actually vote for somebody that isn't a creep that likes to, desire his own daughter. But I mean, that's not everybody in Florida, by the way. There are some good people in Florida, but my God. So anyway, MJF and Kenny Omega for the AEW World Championship. I'm not going to go blow by blow with this thing. Easy for me to say. Major overrun incoming is what I noted. Kenny's feet hit the desk as they went to the floor because the desk was closer because it's a smaller area. They went into the crowd for 3 to 5 minutes. I think it was about 3. They knocked over a bunch of chairs. Kenny looks unhealthy, is what I know. I'm very worried about him. One, he's not really tanning. He's not pale or he's not translucently pale, but it's worrisome. And then a moonsault off the high chair. Apparently, we're just going with Bash at the Beach 97, 98. And MJF's knee is fucked. He not only is it taped, he keeps selling it. We get back and forth. Package pile driver for 2. V-trigger. And MJF goes head first through the announcer's table. Good thing that was made out of balsa wood. And then the moonsault got countered into the ribs, so MJF focuses on the ribs. But a tombstone on the chair, so somehow that doesn't hurt his knee. And then he hits the heat seeker, or tries to go for the heat seeker, but countered, and he lands, with his legs planted and hurts his knee. So the tombstone on the chair didn't cause him to sell his knee, but this did. And MJF's a very smart guy. And look, I'm just a wrestling fan, but I'm just saying he could have. It's fine. Whatever, it's fine. Poison Rana off the top. There is no reason to do the Poison Rana. Kenny landing on his head. Not that it damaged much. And then a heat seeker for 2. Big pop. That woke the crowd up. Not that the crowd wasn't into it, but that really woke them up. And then Ospreay came down and stole the ring. But then a low blow because Kenny just wouldn't use the championship. And then a belt shot and 1 and kick out. And I'm sick of the 1 counts. If you did a 1 count once every 6 months, once a year, it would mean something. Now it's just annoying. I don't care who it is. But Kenny fires up, ends up hitting 3 V-triggers, hits the one-wing angel. 1, 2, 3. New champion after nearly 1,700 days. And Kenny Omega is now going to AEW All In. Unless they want to do something where MJF faces off against Kenny Omega at Redemption and beats him to get more heat in Canada, and they go on for that. Fine. I think MJF actually might be taking a little bit of time off, perhaps to rest his knee, if it really is hyperextended. Hopefully it's nothing major, and he just needs a little rest and rehab. Because I think they likely want to go with MJF versus Andrade at All In. I think that would actually make the most sense. And then MJF and Ospreay will be a ready-made feud. Because there is no way Kenny Omega is walking out of Wembley as the champion. But yeah, unless they do some sudden switch at Redemption, this is what we're going with. Kenny Omega versus Will Ospreay at Wembley Stadium. Maybe that'll sell some tickets because they need to sell some. Boy, do they ever. This went a bit longer than I planned, but you know what? It is what it is. So, that being said, what do you guys think? What do you think of the show? What do you think of the setup? Do you think that maybe they should just, I don't know, send the bad creative to Jaws? I do. The creative basically is the equivalent of Jaws the Revenge sometimes. I'd rather rewatch Jaws the Revenge for about 10 times in a row than deal with Rick Knox as a referee. I'm babbling. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Like, share, subscribe, Twitter, Letterboxd, Blue Sky handles in the description. I'm John Rentlin. Until we see if AEW pushes through Redemption and we go on to All In where we see a great show, happy trails to you.